بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, we have a topic today that I guarantee if you listen to it and you implement it in your life, it is your guaranteed ticket to Jannah. It's not my words. The topic that we're talking about today, if you understand it and you implement in your life what you hear today, which are not my words, then it is your guaranteed ticket to Jannah. And the fact that we're saying it's a guaranteed ticket to Jannah, those are the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in the Sahih Hadith that's narrated in Al-Bukhari, "Man yatakaffal li bima bayna lihyayhi wa rijlayhi atakaffal lahu bil Jannah." That the person that promises or agrees to undertake or guard or protect or be a kafil for me, for that which is between his two jawbones and that which is between his two legs, I guarantee for him Jannah. So here, what concerns us in this in this hadith, in this subject that we're going to talk about, is that which is between his two jawbones. That's the literal words of the Prophet ﷺ, meaning what? His tongue. Meaning what comes out of his mouth. So the one that safeguards, protects, uses correctly, properly, speaks only that's good and remains away from all that's harmful, I guarantee for him Jannah. This is the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is an extremely important subject, but obviously to talk about it is a lot easier than actually acting upon it. But the first step in knowing is knowing. The first step in acting is actually knowing. So for us to be able to even come close to what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about, we have to understand this and understand it well, insha'Allah ta'ala. And I'm just going to really read to you today from a few different gems of the Prophet ﷺ, a few ayat from the Quran, a few sayings of some of the Salaf al-Salih, the righteous people that came before us, in terms of what they said, in regards to the tongue and the different benefits it can bring us and the different dangers that it can bring us. And I'm really going to focus on the dangers because that's the bigger issue, that we fall into the trap of using our tongue in the wrong way. And some things that we are aware of, and yet we still get caught up in doing certain things. And some things that we may not even be aware of, and we are using our tongue in the wrong ways. There's a beautiful ayah in the Quran, and I want you to pay close attention to this. Actually, if you have your mushaf, open it, because it needs a little bit of, if you have it with you. If you don't have it with you, that's fine. If you have it with you, Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 53. And I want you, whether you have it with you or you don't, listen to the words and listen very carefully. And there's something I want you to pick apart in this ayah that's concerning what we're talking about. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 53. Isra is what, 17? Ayah 53. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقل لعبادي يقول التي هي أحسن إن الشيطان ينزغ بينهم إن الشيطان كان للإنسان عدوا مبينا. Right? That the translation of which is, and pay close attention, and say to my servants that they should say that which is ahsan, which is best. For verily shaitan, for verily it is shaitan that sows discord amongst them. Amongst who? Amongst my servants. And verily, shaitan is for the human being a clear enemy. Right? So this ayah, it tells us to be careful about what we say, but there's something very interesting about the relationship of the words here. So, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if somebody who just reads it on a surface read, jumped subject matters. So, say to my servants, يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Say to them that they should say, oh, subhanAllah. I didn't think it would ring. I didn't even bother turning on vibrate. This is my Sheikh from Egypt, subhanAllah. Huh? So this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, say that which is ahsan, which is best, and then Allah says, it is shaitan who sows discord between them. What's the relationship between these two different, like I said, on the surface, it looks like they're two different things. And when Sheikh calls from Egypt, he calls usually a couple of times, so I'll put on vibrate now. So, one part Allah says, tell them, say that which is best, and the next part He says, shaitan, he sows discord amongst them. There's one word that's very important in this ayah, and then alhamdulillah, and then I also and then the next part where Allah talks about shaitan uses it to spread discord. And what's the relationship between the two parts? And there's a very important word in this ayah. If somebody understands it, you understand how powerful this ayah is. Anybody want to take a crack at it? First of all, what's the relationship between Allah says, say that which is best, and shaitan, he uses this to spread discord amongst his. Raise your hand. Yes, ni'matullah. So. Okay. People break apart ties because of just like simple words that they use. Okay, good. So that part is pretty much discernible, I think, for all that somebody who doesn't use their tongue in a way that's right, Allah, the shaitan, he exploits that, and he uses that as a way to split people up, right? To mess relationships up. What's the key word in this ayah? Yes, sister.
I think it's important that He says best, because it's not like what's good or what's true, it's what's best, because I think it's like you strive to the top, even if you're slipping up, you're not falling into your head while you're saying bad, like you're just I guess it creates a buffer between.
Allahu Akbar. Barakallah fiik. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open the doors of knowledge for you. That's exactly what it is. The ayah is beautiful. Look at it. And our sister, mashallah, she hit it right on the nose. That He's telling us to say that which is best. And you said it beautifully. So that there's a buffer. So that if you're always up here, shaitan, to get you down, he has a long way to go, right? But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just said in the ayah, say that which is good, then you're a little bit closer. So the point is what? That the believer, he is never satisfied with second best. He's never satisfied with just that which is good, but he always wants the best. Because when you look at speech, you have speech which is foul, which is not good, which is just regular speech, okay speech. You have good speech, and then you have that which is best. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to do that which is best, so that you don't fall in any of those lower categories. And beautifully stated ayah. And the ulama, when they talked about purification of the soul, tazkiyatul nafs, they talked about a lot of things. But one of the things that took a big, huge chunk of the discussion, if not half of this discussion as a whole, is guarding your tongue and using it in a way that's right, and in so many different ways. So the tongue can be used to do so many different good things. And there's one of the scholars, his name is Ibn al-Azraq. He, in his book, he named out dozens and dozens of things that you can do good with your tongue. You can speak the truth. You can do amr bil ma'ruf. You can do nahi anil munkar. You can, prevent people from, give people nasiha. You can take refuge from the shaitan. You can remember Allah, etc., etc. The same thing with the other end of it, that with the tongue, there's many different traps that you can fall into. Backbiting, lying, giving false witness, cussing. You guys say cussing, you don't say cursing, huh? Huh? Cussing? Where did cursing come from, man? That's like super old school. Talking bad about people, all of these different things. So the tongue is something that puts the human being into great danger. And if it's not watched over, it can take a person into even the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna al-kadib yahdi ila al-fujur," that verily lying will take somebody into evil actions. وَإِنَّ الْفُجُورِ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ, and that evil actions will take you into Jahannam, into hellfire. So what's the first point of that? Lying itself, using your tongue in the wrong way. And that's the first step in taking a person down this wrong and this long path, which is, may Allah protect us from that. The Prophet ﷺ, he was once asked, he says, what is the thing that is going to enter most people into Jannah? And he says, taqwallahi wa husnul khuluq. He says that to have taqwa of Allah and to have good character. And then he was asked, what is the thing that will take most people to hellfire? And he says, al-ajwafan. He says, al-fam wal-farj. He says, your mouth and your privates, right? Similar to the hadith before, but the opposite meaning. You take care of them, it's going to take you to Jannah. You let them loose, then it's going to take you to hell. So the issue is serious. One time, Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he says to the Prophet ﷺ, he says, Ya Rasulullah, are we going to be taken into account for what we say? Like for some reason at that moment, he's thinking that it's a light matter. Like, what's the big deal? It's just words coming out of our mouth. And it's so easy for that to happen. This is the dangerous thing about the tongue, right? It's just so easy. Just you open your mouth and you think and you speak and it comes. How is it that this action that is so easy to do, it's not like, for example, just take a serious matter like a stealing. If you want to steal something from somebody, you have to go and you have to walk and you have to creep and you have to open somebody's door and open somebody's safe and do all of these things to get what you want, right? But to speak, just simply open your mouth, right? So he says to the Prophet ﷺ, are we going to be held accountable for that? And he says to him, he says, are people going to go into the hellfire for anything but what their tongues harvest for them? So that is, and in other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the tongue is that portion of the body that collects more sins than anything else. The tongue is that piece of the body that is going to bring more sins upon the son of Adam than anything else. The Prophet ﷺ, he says in another hadith, he says, أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِأَيْسَرِ الْعِبَادَةِ وَأَهْوَنِهَا عَلَى الْبَدَنِ. He says, should I not inform you of that which is the easiest ibadah and the most easy upon your actual body. What's the easiest ibadah for you to do, and that which is really easy on your body? He says, as-samtu wa husnul khuluq. He says just to remain silent and to have good character. I mean, there's nothing you have to do. Like we mentioned earlier yesterday, one of the characteristics of doing mujahadatun nafs, of struggling with yourself, is just to try to control your tongue and just not to speak at all, to just hold it. And that is a very easy thing to do if you actually put your mind to it, in terms of there's no action required, you just hold it. And that's one of the easiest types of ibadah to actually do. A similar hadith that we're all very familiar with, Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir falyaqul khayran aw la yaskut, right? That a person who believes in Allah and the last day, then he should say that which is good, or he should remain silent. Right? And this is the basic criteria. You can leave everything we bring later and just remember these words of the Prophet ﷺ. And we all know this. But the issue is being conscious of this as much as possible. And we're going to go through a few scare tactics today to really, hopefully, inshallah, instill in all of us, myself first. And this is I'm the one that benefits out of this most. That the reality, if we let our tongue just fly, the danger that it can bring is so great. Let's see. Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he has a beautiful saying. He says that وَاللَّهُ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ مَا شَيْءٌ أَحْوَجُ إِلَى طُولِ سِجْنٍ مِنْ لِسَانٍ. He says a beautiful statement. He says that he swears by Allah, that there is nothing that is more in need of being put in prison than what? Than your tongue. Nothing more in need of being, imprisoned than your tongue. And somebody said once very nicely, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability, like if you look at the structure of the mouth, right, and the tongue, what do you have? You have two jawbones, and then you have your teeth, as if you have this cage that's there to contain that piece of flesh that if you once you let it go, then is going to take you to destruction, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us also this other part of our body to kind of hold it. And it's upon us to realize that and to use that. And Ibn Mas'ud, he says it beautifully, that there's nothing that needs to be more chained up than the tongue, right? And one of the righteous people, the tabi'een, he said nicely, Tawus, he was one of the fuqaha of the tabi'een, he says that my tongue is a predator. If I let it go, it will eat me. Right? SubhanAllah. It's a beautiful statement. He says that my tongue is like a predatory animal. If I let it go, it's going to eat me up, man. It's going to destroy me. Right? So that's the reality of the tongue. This is nice that Sheikh Sa'id Hawa, by the way, who was one of the great scholars of Sham, and he was of the Ikhwan and one of the leaders of the spiritual leaders of the Ikhwan over there. And he's written extensively on the issue of Tazkiyat al-Nafs, and his books are excellent. If you can get your hands on them, get them. Sa'id Hawa. I don't know if his material is translated in English. I imagine it is, because it's very important material. And so he broke up speech into 4 types. He said you have speech that it is purely harmful, right? That speech that is only harmful. And he says you have speech that is only has benefit in it. And then you have speech that there is benefit in it and there is harm in it. And then you have another type of speech that there's no benefit in it and nor is there any harm in it, right? So let's break that down a little bit. And it's important we pay close attention to this, because if you really think about it, subhanAllah, if you analyze talk, speech, conversation, what comes out of your mouth, you realize how dangerous the matter really is. So let's go through this again. So speech that is, darar mahd, that is just purely harmful, can only bring ruin to you. What's an example of that? Anybody? Backbiting, cussing, cursing, whatever, slander, etc. Right? There's no good in that. You can't justify that that type of stuff in any particular situation. Speech that is only good, is purely good. For example, dhikrullah ta'ala, remembering Allah. What else? Recitation of the Quran. Speaking the truth, okay. But that's situational, right? You speak, and when you say that such and such is, can you believe that such and such went out last night and did such and such action? Speaking the truth, but that's backbiting, right? Okay, good. I'm just being particular on what you're saying, yes. What else? Just brings pure benefit. What's that? Quran, she said that already. Reading hadith, okay. Kind words, okay. Giving da'wah to people. I'm sorry? Sincere advice, good. Tasbih, yes, somebody already said making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything else? Okay, look, you guys are struggling to even, right, to bring them out. Speech that is pure, only good. That type of speech that has good in it and harm in it. What's an example of that? Speaking the truth. I mean, there may be situations like we said earlier, like speaking the truth. There may be a good in it, but there may also be harm that when you speak that truth, that it's befalling somebody. What else? There you go. Good. Giving nasiha in the wrong way. There may be good to it because you're telling the person what they need to be told, but you're doing it in the wrong way, and etc. There are other things. And then there's speech which there's no benefit and there's no harm. What's the example of that? Entertainment. Good. Love. Just talking between your friends if you're just chitter-chattering away, right? No rhyme or reason to it. It depends. I mean, that's not. Let's hold the questions to the answer if they're off, but exact topic. But that could be a case of something that's just there's no benefit or there's no harm. Just talk about whatever. Oh wow, look at those guys running around on the basketball court. Oh, that was a great shot. Oh, that was a fail rebound or whatever, right? So, I didn't know that word until recently, man. Fail. SubhanAllah, what you learn from your kids. So 4 categories. What is the only one that you can get away with? What is the only one that's going to benefit you, I should say? That which is purely good. Out of 4 categories, there's only one that's going to benefit you. The other one, there's no benefit, there's no harm. Okay, you can do it, but the problem with that, the more you get it, the more you do that, the more you open yourself up to falling into saying something that's wrong, right? So you see the point? What comes off of the tongue, the chance for good to come off of it really has to be weighed. because that category of which is only going to benefit you is only one out of those four categories, right? So you see the ratio of goodness that can come off the tongue. And of course, I mean, at the heart of all of this, the core of all of this is really a person's their heart, because the tongue is the mouthpiece for what's inside, right? A person speaks based upon what they're trying to express from what's going on inside of them. So if inside is rotten, then that's what comes out off of the tongue. And if your inside is clean, and that's what will come off too. Yes, sister.
I know that like this happens like among friends, but it's common also like with people who are I guess trying to get married or looking for a spouse. A lot of times, like someone will ask about someone, or you're like, someone's trying to get married, and you're obligated to tell the truth about like the character of that person,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you know about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I oftentimes, or hopefully not often, but sometimes that can be like not beneficial, or I guess negative.
Let's come to that. Let's come to it. Remind me. I'll take some notes of some of the things that are mentioned, but that are needed just a couple minutes. So idle talk and talking about, disclosing faults when it comes to marriage and the like, right? Okay, we'll come back to some of that stuff, inshallah. So the issue is that the doors for which somebody can fall into the traps of saying something wrong are so many for the tongue. The doors are so many, and the doors of good are limited. So that we really have to be calculated in terms of the language that we use. One thing I just want to talk about is we talked about that ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say that which is best. And this is an important concept that I really just want to focus on. So, a lot of times in our language, when we want to express ourselves, we know that using foul language is not good. We know that, you're not supposed to say certain words, the F word and so on. Excuse me for even saying that. But what do we do sometimes in replacement of that? We substitute other words for that, right? And it's sometimes become common, and I'm bringing this out because it's commonplace. And I've been hearing this in the camp, and I was reflecting on it. Alhamdulillah, I have not heard one curse word this whole time that I've been here in this camp. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's really nice. That's really super refreshing. But as Muslims, we're always striving for the best in everything. And specifically, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayah, in regards to our speech. So, if we want to do what's best, even that type of language we need to be careful with. Because what does that mean when we speak in that kind of way where, I'm not used to saying these words, so I don't want to say them. But like when you guys say this freaking thing, right? It doesn't even come off my tongue right because I don't use that language. And excuse me for saying it, but I'm just only saying it for the purpose of trying to explain the danger in that. Sometimes we feel like as Muslims, and I know this is a justification that works inside of our minds, that, I can't use this. There's a few words in the English language that we know that are commonly known across the board are considered foul language, right? So we don't use them. But like I said, sometimes we substitute other words for that, right? And so we went from, this is ahsan, this is what's worst here on the bottom. So we didn't go with what's worst, but we went with what's right next to it, right? We went with what's right next to it. When you're able to clean your vocabulary up from that, you're able to elevate higher. Meaning, our way in which we express ourselves shouldn't be, you shouldn't measure how we express ourselves by looking at the general society around us. And that's the trap that we fall into as Muslims. What do I mean by that? That our language should be up here. Society is way down here, and we're bombarded with that all the time. So we know we can't go down there, but we want to clean that up, mask it. It's basically we're saying the same thing, but you're just masking it with a different mask, right? And it's a dangerous thing, because what's really the difference? You changed a couple of letters. You're still expressing that same negativity, that same spite. There's a lot of spite in the words that you use when you talk about curse words or those words that are very close to them, right? So it's just very important that we even be conscious of that, and even make efforts and steps to remove ourselves beyond that. And even sometimes, and I'm guilty of this myself, and in American English, certain words are okay, but in British English they don't go, right? And sometimes we use those words because they don't have the same negative connotation like that. I was in England once, or no, I wasn't in England. I was with an English guy once, and a British dude, right? And I said the word bloody, right? This bloody thing, right? He's like, man, a word like that doesn't come from somebody like you, right? He checked me, which was good. That's not an appropriate type of word for somebody to who's hopes to be a person that's close to Allah, who hopes to be somebody who's a decent person. So the point is that to clean up our language as much as possible is extremely important. To stay as far away from that bottom rung as possible. Not to have any comparison to any others in terms of the loopholes that we've gotten out of. Like when you say those other words in replacement of the real of that real found language, then it's just like putting a bleep over it. Instead of bleeping it, you just replaced it, right? So I don't know. Those are just some observations of mine in terms of how we talk and what we say. Any thoughts on that? Yes, sister.
One time, these girls brought it up in the Hanukkah, and they were asking what are ways that you might be able to prevent that, and kind of the times that you actually say it, it's a time out of frustration, or if something fell, or you dropped something, or something really exciting happened, or anything like that. They're emotions, and so if you train yourself because these are habits, so if you train yourself into the habit of saying subhanallah, or when you win something, say Allah Akbar, or something drops, say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, when you get in the habit of saying that, you subconsciously replace it with something like that.
You said what I wanted to say, but I couldn't express. Barakallah feek. No, wallahi, you said it very eloquently. What you say, and subhanAllah, there's a goodness that comes with that. And that's how the old generation talks, right? They, like she said, they drop something on the floor, Bismillah. We drop something on the floor, oh shoot, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but you see the difference. I mean, there's a vast difference between the two words, and in terms of what that explains about what's in the inside of a person, right? So it's beautifully said. Jazakumullah khair. Yes, Uzair.
What if, sometimes I hang out with some people, and they have clean language throughout, but once they get passionate about something, like she was saying,
Yeah.
they curse, and I tell them try not to curse. And we're friends, so he doesn't take an insult when I
Right.
not to curse. But they honestly believe that it's okay as long as you're really passionate about it. It's okay to curse. And I'm trying to explain to them that no matter what, it's not.
Right.
No, if you really believe in something, it's okay.
That's a strange concept. SubhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا يَلْفَظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. That no lafz, and the word lafz in the Arabic language is different than the word kalima. Is different. There's a difference between lafz and kalima. Lafz, kalima is a word. Lafz is like a utterance. There is no utterance that comes ما يلفظ من قول from anything that's said إلا لديه رقيب عتيد, except there's raqib and there's atid. There's these two angels that are writing it down, right? Regardless of what that is, and regardless of what the situation is, strip the scenario out of it. The scenario has little to do with it, because that word that is coming, that's what's recorded. Allahu Ta'ala a'lam if the situation has a play in it. I don't know. That would be an interesting theological discussion. But the bottom line, the point is, your scroll, what's written is used on 636, December 24th, whatever today is. This is what you said, right? SubhanAllah, I didn't even realize, is it today the 24th? Today is the 25th. Alhamdulillah. Didn't even realize it's Christmas this whole day sitting here. Alhamdulillah. So, so the point is what? The point is that it's written down regardless, and that's a good reasoning you should use with him. I mean, in the end, this is what's going to be written, and then you're going to stand in front of Allah and say that, I said this because I was emotional and I missed the basket. So.
He also said that, I'm sorry.
No.
On the same thing, he also said that sometimes he was trying to reason with me. He's somewhat older. He's like, sometimes the only way I can connect with the youth is because.
Oh wow.
Like about something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like with certain youth, so it's like sometimes the only time they're gonna listen to me is when I use certain.
That's dangerous. That's really dangerous because when you work with youth, you are an example, and they want to see something better. They don't want to see the same as them, and that's very dangerous. One of the sisters had their hands up. One second.
Is there a known punishment
For cursing, is there a known punishment for that? When you say punishment on the Day of Judgment. I don't know if there's anything specific I didn't come across anything specific for using foul language, but go ahead.
Someone said that it's like for every curse word you say, you're held for like 70 years.
There's a word, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says that a person will say a word and he won't pay any attention to it, and it will throw him into hellfire, I believe, for 70 years. But that can be any sort of word. It could be a cuss word, I imagine. But, that's serious. That's serious. I mean, subhanAllah, that's one word that you say, one utterance that you say, and it's going to take you that far. Somebody did recently, they showed me. Actually, they took how long it takes to fall from the altitude of, did anybody see that? Ahmed al-Mutawwa, he did this on his computer in the mass convention with the kids. Muhammad, where are you? What did he say? Say again? 5 minutes and 30 seconds from the top of the atmosphere to the earth, right? Look at that distance, how much that is, right? How much that? 50,000 feet or something? The top of the atmosphere to the earth takes 5 minutes. How long is that? That drop itself feels like it lasts forever. Imagine 70 years. 70 years for one word. SubhanAllah. Right? That's how dangerous the matter is. And that's just for what the tongue says. That's just for what the tongue says. What's the point of saying that using foul language is not dangerous if it's not accepted in an emotional state? Well, when are you going to stand when you're just walking around happy or in a regular state and you're going to start cursing for what? You only curse when it's an emotional time, so that's a nonsense type of argument. A couple other people if you have any questions, let's move beyond the issue of using foul language. Let's touch on a few other things, huh? Um, if anybody had any burning comments, I'll take them, or questions, because this is good dialogue. So there's also the issue of just speaking just to speak, right? Speaking just to speak. So let's leave alone what we know to be evil. But speaking just to speak. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith, طُوبَى لِمَنْ أَمْسَكَ الْفَضْلِ مِنْ لِسَانِهِ وَأَنْفَقَ الْفَضْلَ مِنْ مَالِهِ. Beautiful hadith. Like, it's a beautiful opposite meaning. He said, glad tidings to the one, طُوبَى. You guys are supposed to say something. That was weak, man. No, too late. Glad tidings to the one. Tuba, by the way, the ulama, they said different. they said different things in terms of what it means. They said, could mean glad tidings. They say it also actually means, I believe, a tree in Jannah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Glad tidings to the one that restrains himself from that which is extra in his speech, right? Who restrains himself from that which is just speaking extra, unnecessarily just adding on. Glad tidings to him. And also glad tidings to the one who spends from that which is extra from his wealth, right? So on one hand, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, in terms of speech, don't give extra, but from your wealth, give extra, right? So have your priorities straight. It's a beautiful saying of the Prophet ﷺ, right? When it comes to your wealth, give more. When it comes to your mouth, don't, right? A beautiful saying of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at this saying of one of the great scholars, also of the Tabi'in, Mujahid. He says, إن الكلام لا يكتب حتى إن الرجل لا يسكت ابنه فيقول ابتاع لك كذا وكذا فيكتب كذابا. He says that some words will be said and they will be written down, even the words that the person says to his child. So sometimes you say to your child, if you be quiet, I'll give you such and such, right? If you be quiet, I give you such and such. Most of the time when people do that, they're doing it just to do it, just to get the kid quiet. He says that though even that type of speech, you will be written as a kadhab, as a liar. SubhanAllah, right? You're doing it for something good, but it's being written against you, right? It's being written against you. Even if you didn't go forth with it or whatever it is. That's how deep the matter is. That's how precise the matter is for us as Muslims, that we have to be very careful in what we say, even in these type of situations. Ammar, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was asking, does the tongue translate into texting or messaging or anything?
It's a good question. Absolutely. I mean, it's a written expression of the tongue, right? So whether you want to categorize it, I don't care about the categorization of it, but definitely that is something that you're also held accountable for. So if you text foul language, there was one of the youth he was showing me recently, he was showing me something about I don't know, for some reason he wanted to show me his text message of somebody who wrote something to him. And then, I was reading, it's like, man, all this foul language. I was like, man, what is this? He was trying to show me some other point. But then I looked, I was like, man, I can't even read this stuff. So that's very, very strange. It takes, to speak foul language is one thing, but then to write it, it takes time to do that. Why are you going to write? Why are you going to write cuss words? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's very strange. But yeah, it's a sin. It's written against you, no doubt about it, for sure. Yes, Sheikh. Yeah. Good question. That's a good question. He said, what if you use foul language in your mind? So something happens, you drop something happens, you saw something, whatever, and you say, an expression of disgust by using a curse word in your mind. Is that okay? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, that it will not be written against you, but if you get rid of that habit and replace it with better language, it will be counted for you. You'll be rewarded for leaving, because that eventually, the constancy of doing that will eventually lead it to come out. I mean, when at a time when you're least expecting it, something hits you hard, then it's gonna. You usually say in your mind, then that time you're gonna say it out loud, right? I mean, you know that. So it's just important to have clean self-talk. When you talk to yourself, it doesn't need to be with foul language. When you think thoughts, it's the same thing. When you think thoughts, you don't think haram thoughts. Yeah, you can't do, there's certain actions that are haram for you to do, but sometimes you fantasize yourself doing them. That's also dangerous. You're leading yourself down a dangerous path because you're getting used to getting pleasure by thinking about something, whether it be in words or action or whatever. And so you have to train yourself out of that. Inshallah. One of the sisters, if we can, yes, sister. If you did it inadvertently, no. If you did it indulging in it, probably yes. Allah knows best. Yes, Adib.
You know how if one wants to guard their chastity, for example.
Say again?
If one wants to guard their chastity, for example, they are recommending to fast. Is there any such action for guarding their tongue? Not only from foul speech, but from
Yeah. Good question. That's a good question. So how do you get out of this mess? How do you? So you have a loose tongue, and how do you improve yourself on that? Wallahi, there are some interesting measures that the Sahaba they used to take, and the righteous people before they used to take. Sayyidina Abu Bakr, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to actually put rocks in his mouth. And this is Sayyidina Abu Bakr, right? I mean, he's number one. SubhanAllah. I love that. That's beautiful. Sayyidina Abu Bakr. You guys should have on your make jerseys Abu Bakr 1. Right? So if that's him, SubhanAllah, what about us, man? And he would just do that to remind himself, don't talk. If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say it. One of the righteous, he used to put a candle in front of him. He used to have a candle, and when he used to think certain things or whatever, he would put his finger on it and he would touch it, and he would say, and he would start reproaching himself. He said, "What made you do what you did on such and such a day? He said, you can't even withstand the small heat of this small flame. What are you gonna do when you meet the flame of the hellfire, right?" So I say that to say that think of something that works for you, a way of reminding yourself, a way of checking yourself. Maybe some people have some good advice in terms of that, but think of something that works for you to help you get off of that. But to clean up your thoughts and your speech are definitely correlated. So there is a cleanup job that people do need to go through. And the best reminder is to remember that all this is being written against you. Whatever you say, oops, is done. You can ask Allah for forgiveness, and inshallah, hopefully you'll be forgiven. But to remember that this will all come back to haunt you. Anything you do in this world is going to come back to haunt you that you didn't do right in the first place. Yes, sister.
I wanted to say that because I heard multiple times that when you're fasting, if you use a foul language or if you say foul words, it breaks your fast.
Okay, good. There's hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that he says that, somebody help me, that the essence of the hadith, he says that a person's fast is broken when he uses foul speech or whatever it is. Most of the fuqaha, they understood that to be that was just the Prophet ﷺ's way of, that there's another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says that that there is no point of one fasting if he's involved in this, if he's involved in this, and if he's involved in this. One of those things is using foul speech. So the point being that you're missing the point. Right? The point is that you're missing the point of fasting. Fasting is supposed to restrain you from doing evil actions and so on and so forth. There was actually one of the fuqaha who actually took that literally. And he said when you use foul language, it actually does really break your fast. But that was only one person's opinion. Nobody else said that. So, but it was to make the point more than anything else. Yes, akhi, brother in the back.
In regards to the substitution words that you were talking about,
Yeah.
We're products of our environment. Some of the best of the workers, the best of the Muslims in our community,
Yeah.
they speak in that way. It's like a habit that's
Hmm.
really ingrained, I think, in our community. How would you you have to stay away from it in order to build that habit. How would you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, part of what you take in comes out, right? The reality is people speak this way and people talk that way because of what they take in to begin with. Whether they take that in through their circle of friends, right? Their peers, that's how they speak, that's who they hang out with. Whether they take that in through the entertainment that they listen to, music or movies or whatever. You don't care if the movie says rated R and it says 56 explicatives. When you guys watch movies, you should never just go to a movie without checking what's there. Never, because there's a beautiful website. It's called kidsinmind.com. Okay, if you're a parent, you must know it. If you're not a parent, you must know it. But it's called kidsinmind.com, I think. So whenever we want to see a movie, we go on there. And it will show you, it will rate things for the violence that's contained therein, for the sexual references or whatever is there that's contained in, and the language. So, if you look at that, and then it will say, it will rate it whatever, 1 through 10. 10, I think, being worst. So if you look at that, subhanAllah, it will say violence-wise, it showed somebody's head being cut off and this and that. It showed, sexual reference-wise, this and that happened. It shows language-wise, this many words of this type and this many. That's like a list of, if you watch it willingly, knowingly, that's as if that's a list of what's going to come when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look, this is what you willfully expose yourself to. That's very scary. That's very scary. Think about that, right? So whatever you intake is what you put out, man. So
Let's say you don't you stay away from that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's say you have some roommates that constantly use those words not the words that you're talking about, the actual words, the ones
Yeah.
you, fudge, stuff like that.
They say those cover-up words.
Yeah, the cover-up words.
Oh, okay. Well, alhamdulillah, that's not as bad as the other stuff, man, no doubt. There's definitely levels of gradation, and there's certain no doubt that you're going to find yourself definitely in situations where, alas, you are where you are. You can't change that. So, but we're talking about what you can change, You always have to realize in life there's certain things that you can change and certain things that you can't. There was a lot more to talk about, but we got stuck on the issue of language itself. I want to read... I'm going to take a few more comments in just a second, but I want to read this one scary hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that I found. I never saw it before. It's narrated in Sahih Muslim, and this is scary. Okay, he's here in this particular section. He's talking about the danger of listening to foul language in the context of music. In the context of music. We're not going to get into the issue of music itself, but the language of music. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says, لِأَنْ يَمْتَلِئَ جَوْفُ أَحَدِكُمْ قَيْحًا حَتَّى يُرِيَهُ خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِنْ أَنْ يَمْتَلِيَ شِعْرًا. He says, the Prophet ﷺ, that for one of you, your insides will be, for one of you, Yeah. That for one of you, for your inside to be filled with pus. Sorry for the expression. For one of you, for the insides of you to be filled with pus is better for you than for you to fill yourself with shi'r, with poetry he uses here. And the scholars, they explain that hadith that it means al-shi'r al-fasid, that type of poetry that has foul expressions and language and images and so on and so forth in it. So you can apply that to music too. It is better for you to be filled, it's a nasty expression, but the Prophet ﷺ only speaks like this when something is a serious matter. He doesn't speak in a way that makes people grossed out, except unless it's a serious matter. He says, for one of you to be filled up with pus is better for you than for you to be filled up with music with nasty and negative lyrics in it. It's a very scary concept. So what we were talking about earlier, Ali, what you intake, that's of serious matter, and that really affects what comes out on your tongue. So let's just open it up for a few people have their hands. Make it meaningful because we only have a couple minutes, inshallah. Yes, sister. Right. 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 I mean, there is a certain age where they're not able to intellectualize the whole process out as you guys can at this point. Don't shortchange them, but at the same time, you try to reason that with them as much as you can. I mean, in terms of telling them that yes, one day you say this, and the next day it's going to be this and this. So, and quoting that ayah, that ayah is powerful, but you have to have a certain intellectual capacity to be able to appreciate that, and Allah knows best. Yes, Akhi, you had your hand up for a long time.
So my question was, I apologize if this was said before, but is, cursing someone with the name of Allah, may Allah curse this person.
Yes.
Whatever people.
Yes.
Is this on the same level as cussing, or is that something that is on a different level?
This is called la'na, what you call it? Curse somebody, curse in a different connotation. Yeah, may Allah curse them and so on, bring them down, whatever. If it's done in a wrong way, yes, it's bad. So when you read the downfalls of the tongue, you will read that as one of the headings that to curse people in that manner is actually a really bad thing, and it's actually a dangerous thing too. It's a dangerous thing. Not only it's a bad thing, it's a dangerous thing, in the sense that if you say it in a state of where your dua could be answered, then it happens. And one of the situations of that is a parent who says something against his kids because they did something wrong. That dua can be answered, and that's a dangerous thing, right? Because the dua of the parent is answered. We'll go brother, sister. Sarma, do you cut me off when you need to? Sure. I didn't mean that quick, but I respect the time. Yes, sister.
You mentioned that if you tell children to get them to tie it down or give them something in return.
Right.
We get the point that it across, why would that be negative?
Because it's a lie.
No, but what if you actually carry out the action?
Oh, then there's no problem. No, that's different. Yeah. Last question. That wasn't a real question. Yes, Akhi.
It's a comment actually on just an observation of myself and just kind of realizing
in our inability to express emotion.
Correct.
Um,
Jazakallah
and,
khair.
you know, even saying Bismillah, subhanallah, those are great. But personally, it's been a journey to try and understand how to express those emotions, because there's times when you say those words, you want to express them. You want someone to hear you understand, hey, I'm frustrated or I'm angry. And when Ali, when you ask like kind of what do you do, I think it's once we start training ourselves and the people around us to express our emotions in the correct manner,
Jazakallah khair.
then that's how we start changing them.
Jazakallah khair.
We need to use fuller words to express emotion. We can honestly express our concern.
Barakallah fiqh. Jazakallah khairan. That's beautifully said. Learning how to express ourselves in a proper, in a mature, in a dignified, honorable way. And wallahi, so much we can learn from each other. This was a beautiful discussion. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to clean our tongues. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be from those who only use the best speech. Ask Allah azza wa jal to make us from those who say and do that which is pleasing to Him. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.